That is a memo. Now for the top story tonight, two other views of what Hillary Clinton said. With us now, Marc Thiessen, former speechwriter for President Bush, and Fox News analyst Dr. Marc Lamont Hill. Now, you're not going to give me some loony, crazy, everybody should have as many drugs as they want scenario here, are you?
No, I don't want anyone to have drugs. In fact, I'm against drugs, but I do think that the so-called war on drugs has actually created the very problem that we're trying to eliminate. Over the last 30 years, drugs have gotten cheaper, more powerful, and easier to get. That's a failed policy by any measure.
I agree that the policy is a failure. Does that shock you?
No, I figured we'd agree. We usually agree.
Well, once in a while.
On substantive things.
I agree the policy is a failure because it has not been thought out correctly. All right? Now, you either have to have a system of terrible punishment, which we don't have, because most drug users are considered to have a disease, and rightly so. I don't want to put pot smokers in jail or even heroin addicts. If you sell, you go.
It's a medical problem.
Not right. But on the other hand, we have to decide as a country, now that we have a war, Mr. Thiessen, a war on our border. Now, people who live in Minnesota and Washington State and Maine, they may not get the war. But believe me, people in Arizona are getting a war. And it's going to come that Americans are going to start to get killed. So we don't have an effective policy. President Bush had 8 years. He didn't do it.
Well, I don't necessarily agree with that. President Bush came into office, and he reduced, when Hillary Clinton was First Lady and Bill Clinton was President, teen drug use was at an all-time high. And they did the same thing. They scolded the American people about demand. And guess what? After 8 years of President Bush, teen drug use has dropped 25%.
Now, why do you think that's so? Why has teen drug use fallen in under the Bush administration?
A number of reasons. One, there's a great deal of effort put into education and helping people with recovery. There's the faith-based initiative that did a lot of...
You say that the Bush policies, as passive as I believe they were effective, but they weren't effective in stopping the drug cartels, which have grown in ferocity to now threaten our borders. So I'm saying to you, I told President Bush face-to-face, eye-to-eye, man-to-man, and I'm sure you saw the interview, you got to put the National Guard on the border. You got it. And he finally did after years. But I don't understand a reluctance to do that.
Well, I agree with you on the National Guard. But what we have is there's a three-pronged approach. You have to take care of the demand problem, which is real. You have to help people who are struggling with drug problems. And then you have to go and help our allies in Mexico and other places. We finally have, as of 2006 campaign, we have an ally in President Calderon.
Yeah, somewhat, though, but the restriction of our people going into Mexico is absurd. It's absurd. If you want our help,
he's turning around decades of a culture of corruption in that country, and he can't do it in just 2 years.
But you cannot deal with this problem unless you accept responsibility. The key point that Hillary Clinton made that hasn't been made in the last decade is that the United States is responsible for this.
Absolutely. The United States drives it.
And she could have taken this a step further, and this is where you two will likely disagree with me, is that our trade policy has only enabled drug cartels. It's only enabled drug use, and it's only enabled the illegal drug trade, particularly NAFTA.
Your guy is stopping the Mexican trucks from coming through here. So Barack Obama ain't helping in that regard. But
Mexican trucks are part of the reason why drugs get in as well. So we have to think about NAFTA in a more broad way. It's not just about what happens in Mexico. It's about the transit.
You agree that the National Guard on the border would be an inhibitor for guns going out and drugs coming in. Do you not?
I think it would be an inhibitor. Okay. But I think there are better ways to do it. There are better ways to do it, though.
There aren't better ways to do it.
Absolutely. If the Democratic-controlled Congress had funded the Merida initiative properly and given them access to helicopters and intelligence, it would have worked. No. Congress bailed on them. That's the problem.
The United States National Guard is a very effective unit. The Mexican authorities are corrupt. You can give them whatever you want to give them, but a lot of them are bought off. Now, final question. I thought Hillary Clinton told the truth, okay? But I don't have any confidence that my three initiatives, which are brilliant, and both of them, all right, are going to be acted upon, and I don't understand why. I never understood why President Bush wouldn't secure the border with the National Guard. Finally put 2,500 down there, and everybody said it was a success when they finally got it, but he wouldn't do it. Well, and I guess it's political because he doesn't want to tee off the Hispanics or whatever.
Well, I think it's he doesn't want to see the border as become a wall between our countries.
Why?
He wants to
enforce
it. But
we got drug gangs there and millions of people sneaking in. We need a wall.
I agree with you on the 20,000. But the key is we have an ally in President Calderon. Hundreds of arrests and extraditions of drug traffickers. He's put 20,000 Mexican troops fighting the drug problem.
8,000 dead in 2 years there. Okay, so we have an ally, but it's still out of control. Last word.
putting a wall is not enough. We need to get at the structural problems that necessitate the wall in the first place. They're corrupt because our economic policies have emptied them of their resources.
Oh, you're crazy.
Police that make $10,000 a year. NAFTA has made it impossible for small farmers to have a good living.
We are the best friend Mexico ever had.
Tell that to the Mexican farmers. Tell that to the people who've been victimized by NAFTA.
Here's
the small farmers.
Here's a clue. Here's a clue. The Mexican farmers, a lot of them are here. Okay? That's what I'm telling them.
There's a reason why. But it's because of our failed economic policies.
There's a reason why they don't have a vibrant middle class there.
Because of our exploitative economic policies. Because of our exploitative
we made Mexico corrupt.
No, NAFTA. No. First of all, don't overstate the level of corruption in Mexico. We're corrupt in the United States. Well, no, we can't overstate it. Mexican government is corrupt. I'm not disputing that, but let's not make it a caricature.
All right.
They're cleaning.
Very lively as always. Dr. Hill, Mr. Thiessen.